Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is one of these Sunday question and answer videos that I've been doing for the last month and a half or so. You guys keep asking great questions, so I'm going to keep doing these videos on Sunday mornings. You can ask questions down at the bottom of the video. Make sure if you're asking for like a plant recommendation or something, you include the zone you live in, and that will definitely help me and aid me in directing you to something if I'm able to. There was also a giveaway attached to this one 2 weeks ago. I announced a local giveaway where you put local down at the bottom. I've got the two winners of the plants from that. There's a white wedding hydrangea. This thing is now in full bloom. Look how beautiful it is. And a Delta Series crepe myrtle. I did a video on both of these recently if you're interested in learning more about those two. I'm going to jump right into questions that I got 2 weeks ago and one or two that I had drug in from other places on the channel. One of the first questions was somebody was getting black leaves on their Japanese Azalea or Fatsia and laurels in a shaded space. These are shade plants. They're getting black leaves and then the whole plant starts to decline really quickly. A Cuba is another plant that this will happen to. I used to see this at the nursery quite a bit. Cuba is a large leaf shade evergreen shrub in the southeast. It's a beautiful plant. Lots of different variegations and green foliage varieties. Beautiful plant, but when it gets root rot, it turns black, and then slowly the entire plant turns black. So that's what that is root rot. The other part of this question was, or in this question contained the word cow manure, and they had mixed in cow manure into the clay. Cow manure has an incredible water holding capacity. This is from somebody who's loaded cow manure for customers over the years. If a bag had a hole in it and any water got into it, it's just like peat moss. It has an incredible ability to hold water, which is great in some situations. It's great for using for annuals. I love to mix it into bark and plant my annuals into it because I know it'll add some water holding capacity. It's probably not something I really want to mix into clay soils, especially in the shade. I worry that I panic people that do use cow manure in their clay soils. Don't panic. It's not going to kill every plant, but if you're in the shade and it's an area that may stay a little more moist, and especially in the winter time, I would not use cow manure as a soil amendment. I almost go with nothing, or pine bark soil conditioner if you can find it. Make sure you're mounding your plants up a little bit, but that's what that was a root rot issue of some kind, probably Phytophthora. Okay, somebody wanted to know why their remontant hydrangeas aren't reblooming. These are the ones, the newer mophead hydrangeas that are supposed to bloom a second time. And I don't know if yours are in too much shade. That's some possibility that they're getting enough sunlight in the early spring before everything leaves out, or the sun is in a particular space and it's not getting enough sun. That would be my only, guess. I do, I go through stages on something. If something's not making me, a plant's not making me happy, the first thing I would do is consider moving it. If it's a little bit stretched, looking and not really compact, it would likely be the low light issue, and I would move it. In that case, that would be my first stage, and then if I couldn't get it to rebloom again and it just wasn't making me happy, I'd probably just go get another one. That's kind of how I am with plants. If they're not performing like they're supposed to perform, move them first, and then exit stage left second. Somebody planted holly shrubs on a bank or were about to, and wanted to know if it was a good idea. The Chinese holly, they were getting the dwarf Burford hollies. These are broadleaf hollies. When we're talking about hollies, broadleaf hollies tend to be, those are native broadleaf hollies like American holly, or Chinese hollies, or hybrid hollies like Nellie Stevens. All of those things are super hardy. Like you could put them on banks, you could put them on the moon, the sun, it doesn't really matter. Those things are just almost hard to kill. Sometimes you can plant them and they'll defoliate completely and then leaf right back out. They're tough plants. So broadleaf hollies like the dwarf Burford holly that you mentioned in the question. They also said compacta holly. Compacta holly is a Japanese holly. So Japanese hollies, and I mentioned this in a lot of videos, sky pencils, those little skinny upright sky pencil hollies, compacta hollies, which are what people call boxwoods on basically every house in the southeast, are actually a type of holly. Hellerite holly, which is a little low doming one, soft touch holly. There's lots of Japanese hollies in different shapes and sizes. They're not very drought tolerant at all. I wouldn't put them on a bank. If you did put them on a bank, you need to run some sort of irrigation to them where they have to be irrigated in some sort of ongoing way. Japanese hollies, not drought tolerant. Broadleaf hollies, large growing hollies, the kind of the thorny ones, are definitely much more drought tolerant, much more industrial plants. Okay, somebody wanted some ideas about planting around a small goldfish pond that they were putting in. And I like to use grasses. I definitely am a big fan of grasses and then really low perennials. In fact, this combo of this little blue fescue right here and these either variegated or purple grasses and things like that look great around those kind of things. I also like conifers around ponds, so like a little Globosa cryptomeria. I've got a video for Globosa cryptomeria or Globosa Japanese cedar on the channel. That's a great choice. I do like things that kind of die down to the ground around ponds and things in the wintertime so that I can get in there and clean up. Just kind of clean the space up and refresh it for the following spring. Also, again, use Google Images and look for what other people have planted around theirs for ideas as well. There's I'm getting a lot of questions about late flowering things, and of course it's been 2 weeks since these questions were asked, so some of these things are probably blooming now. But a lot of people up north, your winter went on and on and on and on, and so things aren't blooming, like PG hydrangeas and Rosa Sharons and things like that. I'm assuming that by now they probably are. Most of the questions I've got on why my plant isn't blooming are people in the north in like zone 5, because winter ended here and just stayed gone, and somehow you guys stayed locked in the cold much longer and had very long, cool springs. So that's the reason your PG hydrangeas and Annabelle hydrangeas and Rosa Sharons, but all those things bloom on new growth. So as long as they have new growth at some point during the summer, they will flower. Somebody asked about killing poison ivy, and I was like all on board with an answer, and then it said with no chemicals. I was like, no, I don't think so. I can't think of a way that I'd want to get into poison ivy and figure out a way to kill it without chemicals. Like if I said smother it in plastic or something like that, that might be a suggestion I would make for some things, but then the plastic would be covered in it. I don't know. Let me tell you how to kill poison ivy, the thing I've learned to do with poison ivy. Poison ivy has beautiful fall foliage, for those of you who don't know. In the fall, it just lights up the woods. You can really see it from a mile away. It's beautiful, like a scarlet red fall color on the leaves, and so it really stands out then. When plants go dormant in the fall, most of you probably know that the color of the leaves that you're seeing, the yellows and oranges and reds, are the actual color of the leaf. And what the green that you've been seeing all summer is the food that the plant's been producing for itself. And so in the fall, they take the energy, the trees and shrubs that go dormant, pull the energy down into the roots. In the fall, as the fall color is starting to show up on that poison ivy, it is drawing things down into its own roots. And so that is the time to spray. Any kind of herbicide sprayed on poison ivy in the fall will do it in. And that's been my experience. I can really have great success spraying, like maybe right around the 1st of October in my area, probably a little earlier in a little further north. But as soon as I see any fall color at all starting to show up, I might do a couple applications of a herbicide at that time. Normally, you don't hear me recommending a lot of chemical stuff, but in this particular case, get the poison ivy out of your yard and do it as it's starting to go dormant in the fall. If you spray it in the spring, it'll just laugh at you. It'll defoliate and then come right back up. I mean, the roots aren't harmed by it at all. Use that little engine in the fall to pump the chemicals right down to its own roots. Okay, somebody asked about crepe myrtle fungus. This will be the last question before I announce the winners. Crepe myrtle fungus that they get, that's called sooty mold. It's a black fungus. It's actually an aphid issue, and the aphids have been on them probably for several weeks at this point, and their secretion drips onto lower leaves on crepe myrtles. It's actually on a lot of plants. I've seen it on Rosa Sharon. I've seen it on almost any plant that gets bad aphid problems. It's susceptible to sooty mold, and what it is it's the secretion of the aphid and a mold that forms on it, and it does block the sun's, blocks the sunlight out from those leaves, so it's not great for the plant. Probably it's not death for the plant either. It's just very, very unattractive, but getting those aphids under control in the spring. Any plant that you have sooty mold on, you need to be paying attention to it in the early to mid-spring. On the newest growth on the tips of the plants, you're probably getting aphids every year. Normally with aphids, I take a powerful water hose and just, you know, knock them off the plant for the most part. And I can get rid of 80 to 90%, which is all I care about on aphids. Okay, I drew the winner for the crepe myrtle first, and that is Mary Morris. And I drew the winner for the hydrangea second, and it's Jeff M. If the two of you would send me an email to this email address right here, we'll get together and you can figure out how to come over and grab these two plants. Again, I'm going to have some more of these local giveaways in the next few weeks, and also some other giveaways that, like I say, all of you can be included in. Thank you very much for watching this video, and ask questions down at the bottom of it, and I will continue to do these every Sunday.